mental health, emotional health, physical health, deeper understanding, actionable takeaways to improve your quality of life. We're the Level Up guys.
Even guys can have emotionally literate conversations about these hard topics, and we're the guys that are going to prove it. Let's level up.
If you and your sweetheart are on Gloucester for the day, and she sees like a really nice sweater in the window, and then 6 months later, right, she gets that as like a holiday gift. Why is that so much more? It seems like the gift of you having thought about it the whole time is profoundly more valuable and received than the actual gift itself.
Yeah. So in some way, so what you're talking about is like a demonstration of I was paying attention, right? Like I pay attention to what matters to you or what you find valuable, you know, in kind of a broad sense of the word. So in addition to a gift, I wonder if it is maybe not a verbal affirmation, but like some kind of affirmation, right? Like the subtext at the bottom of the screen, you know, in quotes, is like, I pay attention to the things that matter to you. And the actual, you know, spoken, you know, whatever, an image is, here's a gift. But like it all kind of comes wrapped up together.
Yeah. With a little bit of an act of service, because you had to drive all the way back to Gloucester to get the letter. And then come back.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good one. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like for any of these, you know, and this maybe ties in a little bit to where you were going before that we said we would come back to, you know, the difference between how we receive and what we give might be two ships passing in the night, right? Like, for me, I know that physical touch is really important. I know that receiving gifts isn't really important. Some amount of quality time. Acts of service I like, but it's not how I connect with love, right? So it's not that like I, you know, say, oh, no acts of service, but it's like that isn't going to be the thing that makes me feel like you love me necessarily. Words of affirmation, as I said, is kind of risen on the list. But whereas, you know, my wife, acts of service is a big one for her. And also quality time and, you know, physical touch also up there. But I think actually for her, words of affirmation has risen on the list. But like, if let's say that I'm somebody who really loves getting gifts, and when somebody puts it gets me a really thoughtful gift and, you know, whatever, I feel really thought of and cared about and loved, right? If I take that perspective and, you know, buy my partner a really wonderful gift and, you know, put a lot of thought into it and stuff like that, like, it's not that she might not like the gift, but it might not have all of the meaningful context that it would have for me. And so she might be thinking like, not literally, but like, where's my act of service, you know, kind of thing. Right. Now, and I say that kind of just as the shorthand, like she would think, oh, thank you so much for this gift, da, 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 da. But in terms of internally, like, am I feeling loved in this moment? Right. It would be like, you missed the mark. Two ships kind of sailing in the night past each other. Yeah. I mean, actually, another quick example that comes to mind that happens to us nearly every night is, so for me, physical touch, but like light physical touch, like having my back scratched or just rubbed, you know, or on my leg or whatever, that really resonates with me. And I feel very loved and cared about and cared for and nurtured in moments of that. And for my wife, like, she may not even notice that I've been lightly rubbing her back while she's finishing her dinner, you know, and I've already finished mine. Maybe we're sitting next to each other, like watching an episode of something. It wouldn't even necessarily register that like I've spent the last 30 minutes lightly rubbing her back. Whereas for me, my whole world just melts and like I'm at ease and, you know, and like, oh my God, this person loves me so much. Oh my God, you know, like, but for her, yeah, it wouldn't register. And so, yeah, so that's kind of getting to what you were saying. Like, it really takes getting to know what do I need so that we can advocate for it and let our partners know, like, this is how I feel loved the best, or, you know, this is I'm going to teach you, because there's no way that you should be able to read my mind, right? I'm going to teach you how I feel loved, and paying attention to, and asking maybe how the other person, how it resonates with the other person, how they feel loved.
Yeah. All right, we got 4 down. We got 1 to go. What do we got?
No, I think
Oh,
we
that was
kind of
it.
hit. Yeah, I think we kind of hit them. Words of
Wow.
affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch.
Hmm.
Yeah. Have you ever had any experiences of like uh, just being with somebody where they have a very different type of love language, and it just and maybe not realizing it kind of creates this thing where two people are really putting effort into loving the other person, but each person is not really feeling like effort in the relationship. Like
Yeah.
sometimes that has happened
Oh,
to me.
100%. I mean, I think with every failed relationship, one of the dynamics underneath it all would be, an unrecognized that, or a recognized that just, for example, I've had girlfriends where quality time was super important. And I work a lot, do a lot of stuff. I do my very best work when I'm alone, put my head down, quiet, don't talk to me. So this is hard to balance. Because if I took the time for me to do my work, half of my mind is like feeling guilty that I'm not over there doing that stuff, you know?
Mm.
If someone's a gift giver and maybe they haven't read the book and, oh, here's this thing, I'm really grateful for that thing. Part of me might be like, crap, if you wanted to spend money on me, I really could have used one of those. I'm
Yeah.
dying to have one of these for years and say. So I think you have a big advantage if you're on a hike and your partner says after the fact, hey, this is how I think it could have been better. Like, that's kind of the cheat code, the communication of actually knowing this is what I need.
Yeah.
So I'm going
And
to kind of meet you there, kind of meet in the middle, like to meet everyone's needs.
yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good point. It is a cheat code. And what makes it complicated, and this is probably another episode, right, is in that moment, how do we receive that feedback when maybe it's presented in frustration, right? It's still, there's gold in that, there's treasure in that information, right? It's like,
Yep.
oh, you're teaching me how to love you better. But if it's presented with frustration, how do we not go into our own experience of this person doesn't think I'm a good partner, or I'm not meeting the needs? What does that mean about me? Right? Like it can
Right.
go there very quickly. And another thing that was really part of my experience in that moment that I can share is it's because quality time, just being present with each other, but not necessarily verbally engaging, isn't sorry, because that's more natural to me. It takes a lot of focus and stepping outside of like my default brain, when like when we're out doing things together, to make sure that she's feeling loved and needed. And here's the thing, it's got a lot of programming to be the way that it already is, right? And so I can really want to meet her needs, and it cannot be the intuitive thing to be talking, as much as she might, prefer, or whatever. Particularly if we're like on a hike and it's kind of strenuous and there's bugs around, or if we're out to dinner and it's, and our daughter's being crazy and it's loud and, whatever. So it's like, all right, how can I hold two things to be true, right? That's a phrase that I hear from a lot of great people. One of them being Dr. Becky Kennedy, who I just adore. She's a wonderful like parenting person, as well as just kind of figuring out life and how to be the best person you can be type of person. But yeah, she is frequently saying like, how do we hold two things to be true? One is that it's okay for me to not always be focused on my wife's needs when we're out. Like I might be distracted. I might be, whatever type of programming from before of just like not feeling intuitive. And also, on the other hand, can it also be true that this is something that I could work on paying more attention to?
Mhm.
right? Doesn't make this part of me bad, or it doesn't mean that this is a good version of me. It's just about like, this is one of the things that I can pay attention to in my relationship that makes us a better match for each other.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To tap into your like direct expertise, um, I know for me, as I mentioned before, a lot of this was created in childhood. Even the lack of wanting gifts.
Mm.
Like my parents were divorced, so I'd spend Christmas here and Christmas here. And whenever I would go to my mother's house, she would shower me with all these gifts. There'd be a big mountain, Mount Everest of packages in the corner for me. And it was all of this crap that I didn't want and that I didn't need. And I felt back then as like a 14-year-old kid that she was trying to like make up for not bringing me to the bus stop. I felt weird. So how much is just wired in from when we're kids, and we have to like become conscious of it, focus on it to be able to like recognize, oh, this might be a little bit different than when I was a teenager.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like what you, just based on, the phrasing of like, what I really wanted was for you to walk me to the bus stop. Like, you were wanting quality time, and she wasn't giving that, for whatever the reasons, and was giving you gifts instead. So like, and I don't know the situation, but like part of me wonders like if she thought like she was doing a good job of it, or if she felt like she was actually like if it was like, oh, he's gonna love these gifts, like he's gonna really feel appreciated, whatever, or if it was like more of what you said, where it's like, yeah, I kind of feel bad that I'm not giving him my attention in this other way, so I'm gonna, here's a bunch of gifts, like more reactionary as opposed to like,
Yep.
oh, he's gonna, really thinking that he's gonna love it.
Let me
But
interject just in case she ever randomly watches this. She's 80, so she's probably not going to watch this, but I don't want to get in trouble for doing this.
yeah,
I think what she was doing was she was putting upon me her own love language.
yeah,
She loves receiving gifts. She loves stuff. She loves
mm,
all the stuff. And you know what I mean? That was I think it maybe was an unrecognized, the book hadn't been written. Nobody knew what these things were. You
yeah,
know, that generation didn't talk about things like this ever. It's just like, here's what you do. If you want to make
yeah.
a kid happy, like buy him a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, fair enough. And I mean, it is like I'm not sure that kids really, even if I'm not sure that kids have even the skill to be like, you know, mom or whoever, like gifts aren't really my love language. What I actually want is, is quality time.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a high level sentence, right? That like even some adults would have a hard time wrapping their head around. And so
Yeah.
it's not so much the responsibility of the kid, right? But I think what you're speaking to is a moment or an example of misattunement, right? Like the job of a parent is to attune to their child as best they can, right? And nobody does it perfectly. We all have our own barriers, like from our own parenting and just, yeah, just like the way that our brains function and just experiences that we've had, like all of these things potentially get in the way of us deeply attuning to our children when we have children, and that creates wounds because children can't give you the feedback of, hey, on that hike I really wish that you would have spoken to me more. Like I didn't really feel like, no child says that,
Mm-mm.
right? It's actually programmed into children, instead to have more the thought or mentality um, of like, oh, there's something wrong with me for wanting more talking, right? Like
Right.
they make yeah, they're just programmed to do that. Again, pack mammal stuff. We'll have an episode on it,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, misattunement of love languages. It can start early and it can continue, but and like I said, it's not that any one love language is better than the other one, or that there's no hierarchy to it. It's just about um, locating yourself within like the spectrum of each of these, right? Like you can consider each of these love languages a spectrum. Where do I fall on the receiving gifts? Where do I fall on the physical touch?
Mhm.
Et cetera. And paying attention to which ones kind of rate more highly and which ones rate more low, and being a good communicator to your partner about it.
I think this is going to be really valuable content for people, you know, to be able to hear some stories and share some of the wisdom of what we've been through, you know. On that note, you guys, make sure to follow us. We're on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. Like, subscribe. If you can leave a 5-star review on the platform, do it. Oh, we got an Instagram. We're on Instagram. We're all over the place.
Yeah.
So as we started, we said, all right, this is going to be one in a series, relationships. Yeah. The truth is, we could have an entire podcast about relationships and do it every day, right? But we've been brainstorming, like, what's on the agenda? What's on the future for relationship episodes?
Yeah. So as I was trying to think about the framework for it, is like, what are the what's the behind the scenes stuff that can make or break relationships, right? So love languages, as we talked about, right? Another one is attachment styles, that if people don't know what attachment styles are, you're going to have to tune into another episode. But it's one of those things that, stuff plays out in the relationship directly related to attachment styles, and having language around attachment styles and knowledge about it actually decreases some of the shame of patterns that aren't, feeling healthy or good, or that, we're just not feeling good about. So that's another one. Communication through conflict, right? Like, we all know that communication is one of the most important things about relationships, right? But when we get into conflict, people have different ways of either, shutting down, avoiding conversations, or fighting, like verbally fighting, kind of being more aggressive and getting in there and confrontational, but not like, I'm not even talking negative or aggressive confrontation. I'm like, I'm going to bring my problem to you because I feel comfortable doing that, and somebody else might have a different response. And so we'll go into a little bit of that. Codependency, man, I hold that one deep in my heart, because it was a barrier to me finding and creating so many it was a barrier for me to create healthy relationships in so many cases, until I really did some work there. It's when we kind of, the shorthand of it is when we are outsourcing our self-worth to our partner. But that may not make sense to you. You're going to have to stay tuned. Yep. And then last on this list, I don't know what order we'll do it in, but is people misunderstanding the chemistry that we feel, particularly at the beginning of relationships, and responding to chemistry, that kind of feeling of falling in love, where we start to feel like a magical thing is happening to us, and this person is my soulmate and all that stuff. We're going to talk about what is, going on there within the body and psychologically, and how it ties into being a pack mammal. So,
Yeah. As we're brainstorming ideas, I mean, Jarrett and I would love you guys to be able to have your input, because we want you, we've said this before, we want you guys in our orbit to be able to participate in this. So type it in the comments, whatever it is. If it's a crappy idea, we'll kick you out. But if it's a good idea, we'll make some content on it and see what we got. We don't have it figured out, but we're figuring it out. That's wherever we're the level up guys. And what do the level up girls do? Level up girls, the same thing. Guys is like gender neutral. Hey guys, right? I mean, you can be guys, girls. I got a cat, dog. It's just one big love fest.
All included.
Yeah, all inclusive.
Yeah, I like it. And like you said, leave comments. Please rate 5 stars if you're enjoying the content, and if you can leave a written review, that's another thing that really helps us out. Share this with a friend. I think that is one of the best things that you can do. If you know somebody that this content would resonate with, we're trying to get it out there for the sake of just helping the world and growing all together. So do it for us.
That's a good point. You can send this video to your loved ones, so you don't have to do all the explaining. We'll do it for you. We'll get them dialed in. We'll make the next hike better, the next gift better, the next conversation better. We'll level up.
Yeah.
All right, man.
I'm into it.
Love you. I'll talk to you next time.
All right. Love you, buddy.
All
Catch you then.
Bye. That's it for today, you guys. Make sure to follow us. You can find us on all the major platforms. If you really like what you heard, maybe share it with a friend, share it with a buddy, maybe share it with an enemy, because we all need a little bit of love. We're going to level up together. See you next time.